Hey there everybody, this is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at the Handwheel of the Singer 15-91. I thought I'd just do a quick little video on the handwheel and cleaning it. And there are a lot of different ways to clean handwheels. Most handwheels are these big giant steel pulleys, for lack of a better word. That's really what a handwheel does on a sewing machine. But when you have a machine like the 1591, which has the Singer potted motor design, this is also true of the other direct drive motor design machines that Singer had, like your 301s and your other Slantomatics. They used what was called Textolite. Now, Textolite is not technically a plastic. It was developed by General Electric for Singer, and I don't know the proprietary recipe for this gear. I can tell you it is one tough gear. It is not impossible to break one, but in 9 years I've never seen one broken. I'm sure they can be, probably if they're dropped. And some of you may have seen one that was stressed so much that it was broken. But it is incredible to think that these gears are still running. But cleaning them is something I wanted to show you because you want to be a little extra gentle because they're not steel. I suspect that Textolite was some form or cousin of fiberglass in some way, because these gears were, I think it's a resin, but it's fiber reinforced. Whatever it is, it's really tough. However, when you're cleaning old grease off, you want to give a little more gentle treatment than you would if this were steel. So I'm going to show you, first of all, you want to get some of these precision tip. These are the Q-tips I mentioned to you. They're called precision tip. And anything that you use to clean old grease or dirt or whatever out of this gear needs to be smooth with a rounded edge. Okay, don't use sharp objects. So this is a cruling tool. One of my viewers told me this. I don't know where I found this. I think I found it in an old sewing machine drawer, and there were a bunch of them in there, and I thought, oh, that's nice, because if you look closely, I'm not sure how easy this is to see on camera, one side of this has a nice little, it's a narrow point, but it's smooth and rounded here, okay? Now you have to still be careful because there is a sharp side on this side, but it's a fairly smooth edge. This little tool I got in a little package of, I think it was like a pedicure set or something, but you'll notice it almost looks like a tiny little spoon, but it's rounded, okay? You don't want to start taking really sharp objects to this. Don't use a screwdriver even. You want to be gentle. Now, most of your grease is going to sit right here, okay? Notice there's a groove here, and I mean not a groove, excuse me. There's a series of ridges here, but this is not for the belt, right? This does not have a place for a belt because this machine doesn't use them. So you'll notice I'm not dipping this cotton swab into alcohol. Do not put cleaners. Don't put solvents of any kind, including alcohol, which we often use on steel to clean grease. This is a dry precision tip Q-tip, and I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to hold it here on this little rim right below the gear, and I'm just going to come around and just turn it. And this grease typically just comes off. It's not like you have to chisel it or anything, right? It's not that difficult. You can see, oh, how lovely. You see I've already gotten some on the other end. And that's a lot of grease right there. Again, you can use other things, but these precision tips hold their cotton better. I'm not saying they can't fray. Any of them probably can. Notice I'm going to come right in this little tiny groove with that precision tip and come around. Again, always check your work and make sure that you haven't lost cotton fibers in here somewhere. You don't want those in messing up the works. But the precision tips are less likely. Nothing's impossible, but they're less likely to you can see more of that stuff, icky old grease coming off of there. The precision tips are less likely to shred on you, but you still have to watch. Now, some people will go and they'll go individually. Notice I'm taking this cruling tool with the smooth round edge, right? And you can come all the way around if you wish. And I usually don't find a ton of old grease in the grooves, kind of surprisingly. Or you might. Usually there's not that much, right? They're overdue for grease usually, and they run kind of dry. But notice I'm just going to come in here, and you don't have to do each one, guys. just kind of look. I'm sort of wiping this tool off. Most of what I'm seeing is right up here at the top edge, right? And these are really just old remnants, a little bit of dried grease that's left over. And I'm not really finding much of anything. Again, you know, it's not something you have to even do if you don't want to, because you're not really getting that much off of there. But let's get another precision tip here. And now there's another rim up top. I'm going to come around. And just, you can see me pulling that old grease off. This is exciting entertainment, I know. But remember, I thought to make this video because if you didn't know, you might not even know this was Textilite. You might think it was metal, and you might be a little less careful with it, and that would be unfortunate. You don't want to damage it. I just, you know, finished telling you how durable it is, and obviously it is. But anything that is not steel, even steel can be damaged. And I'm just going to keep coming around here, and you can see I'm just pulling off, as I go around, pulling off old grease. Old grease that has helped this machine run for a long time. But it's, you know, grease, by the way, I don't know, I've never really done a lot of investigations into the detailed chemistry of grease, although different greases have different uses, and that's why I always tell people, you know, you need to use the Singer lubricant, one that's compatible, and that's especially true with these Textilite gears, right? You don't want to experiment. There's more of that stuff coming off. You don't want to experiment with some new grease chemistry all of a sudden, unless you've tested it first, right? That's fine if you've tested it, but don't just put anything on your sewing machine. Because I've had a sewing machine before where someone used lithium grease, and it, oh God, it made, what a nightmare that was trying to get that out of there. Okay, what do we have left here? I've gotten grease off the top rim. I've gotten above and below the Textilite gear. The gear is pretty clean enough. Now, this area here, it's a lot easier to clean when the wheel is off. So I'm just going to wipe that down. It's just mostly dust, nothing too. You don't have to do that. By the way, right here, this is aesthetic, because when this is on, you're really not going to see it. But you know, if you're a really detailed person and you really want to do it right, you know, you got the wheel off. What is it taking me, like 45 seconds? There you go. Right now, I just pulled some dirt off of here, and you know, who knows how many years that took to build up. Now, on the inside, you can use polish. Not polish. Excuse me. You can use. We've talked before about using sewing machine oil as a way to clean up, you know, dirt and grime. There's not a lot on here, because remember, you're going to have your clutch knob eventually. Now, all that's left before we put this back on is new grease for the gear. Now, yes, we do have it on the worm gear. Uh-oh. I shouldn't point without you guys being able to see. I just put some here in the worm gear, but I'm going to go ahead and add. I want to show you how I'm adding grease here, because people always want to know, well, how much is enough? How much is too much? So I'm going to come here. I'm just going to put a bead. Make sure that's showing up for you guys. I'm just going to turn the hand wheel, and you can see the gears just rotating as I rotate it with my hand. And I'm putting a bead. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is an artwork, so again, you know, you may have, the bead might be slightly thicker here than there, but don't sweat that. That's okay. You just want to make sure you're getting a bead of grease into this gear all the way around. And we've got plenty more in here, up here, that's going to help sort of seal the deal. So, is there really anything else left to do? You can put 1 or 2 drops of oil on the inside of your hand wheel, because it's going to be sliding onto your drive shaft. And putting it on is pretty straightforward. You line it up with the drive shaft, you push it in. And remember, Singers always turn toward you. This is the front of the machine, so they're going to turn toward the front. And by turning this, I can now sort of get it rotated around with the grease. And let's pull it off and see what we did. There you go. See? Now, you may notice that, oh, what happened? A lot of the grease is in here. and not all of the grease on the worm gear is still there. That's because it's been distributed. You put the grease in and then you distribute it. As you turn the gears and they come together, the grease is displaced throughout the teeth of the gears, but you're not going to have that big blob because it's doing, this is how grease works, right? It's supposed to do this. It's supposed to travel and disperse around those. So if you pull this out and you think, oh no, I don't have enough grease, there is plenty of grease on here. Okay, you can see how wet it is. The grease has sort of fanned out into all the teeth of the gears, and I'm going to pull this up. I want you guys to see, and you can see that the same thing has happened in the worm gear. I'll tilt this towards you guys. See, remember that big blob I had there? It's still grease, but now it's been smoothed out. So don't be tempted to go back and say, oh no, I need more. The amount that you've seen me put on is more than enough, right? Because the grease is, it's gonna seep into the teeth of the gear, and it's not really going anywhere. There's not really anywhere for it to go other than to do its job. So what do we have left? Well, we have our clutch washer and knob. So there's the clutch washer, and it has two little teeth here, and you want to put the side that has these three little bumps facing you, and you'll line the washer up. The teeth fall into a slot. There's a slot. Excuse me, there are two slots. There's one right there, one right there, and you just line the teeth up. It seats. The washer should be flush, and since it has a little oil in there, it's probably just going to hang on there and stick. Now, remember that, and I've showed this before, with your set screw, this is the little set screw for the clutch knob, right? You want to make sure there's oil there, and go ahead and don't do that. Don't do what I just did. It went flying out of my hand, but no problem. Okay, so you're going to take, remember this knob is going to screw back into here. It unscrewed for me fine before. Let's put a drop or two of oil on there just to make life easy. This is not something you have to regularly oil. I try to take pains to show that to you guys, that a lot of the things I'm doing in a restoration of a sewing machine, full overhauling it, these are things you don't have to do as normal maintenance. If you have one of these machines, or your machine is running great and it doesn't need an overhaul, you don't need to oil this every time you oil the machine, right? Oiling a machine for sewing is different than oiling it for getting it rejuvenated or overhauled, because it's sat for God knows how many years, how many decades. Okay, and I'm going to take out my little set screw here just to test it and make sure that the oil is doing its thing. You know, this is normally not something that gets all that stuck, but you know, and I did put some oil. I'm going to put another drop there, and then I'm good. This should take. Oh, wait a minute. Let's take one of our Q-tips there and go ahead and see if there's anything there to clean. We'll put the set screw back in, and it's good. All vintage sewing machines have this clutch setup until you get to around the 70s, when they started to change the way you engage and disengage a bobbin winder. I have found that the Singers are some of the smoothest and easiest. All of them are tough, but the Singer really set the standard for the quality of the steel. So there you go, guys. We now have our hand wheel back in place. We've got grease on all our gears. We've got new wicks, probably the first new wicks the thing's ever had since 1950. And so we're winding our way back. I'm going to show you guys, I'll make a couple more video clips, a few more things we want to do, and then we'll be getting ready to plug her in and test it, see how she performs. Thanks for watching.